Okay, so let's think back to how we did proofs before. I like how some people have already started setting up their T-charts. So whenever we're asked to prove something, we're doing a 2-column proof. Statements go on the left. Reasons go on the right. And line 1 should always be your given. And I'm given angle S is congruent to angle W. Now, since the only way we are going to prove similarity is through angle-angle, I need one set of congruent angles given to me. So that means I need to get a second set of congruent angles. So now let's look over at the diagram. It's still going to hold true from back in chapter 4 that your line 2 can either be the reflexive property or vertical angles. The only thing that's going to be different is our reflexive property is no longer going to be that line straight down in the middle. Our reflexive property is going to be the same angle is this congruent to itself. In this diagram, we've got a bow tie, so we're going to have the vertical angles in the middle here. So this angle is congruent to that angle. So now we just need to write that out. So let's name the angle on the left. What order do you want to go in? Well, John, there's 4 different angles at angle U, so you need to be more specific. Thank you for making that mistake because lots of students do that. Evan? That could work. So angle SUV is congruent to angle WUT. Who remembers what we write on the other side? So if vert angles, then congruent. Now do we have 2 sets of congruent angles? Yeah, we do, right? And that's all we need for angle. So now I'm done. So let's rewrite the prove line. So line 3, triangle SUV is similar to triangle TUW because of angle similarity. Where does your first set of congruent angles come from? Which line? First set of congruent angles comes from line 1. The second one comes from line 2. Good. Don't make it any harder than it is. Or make it, that doesn't make sense. Don't make it any harder than it's not. I don't know what I wanted to just say there. All right. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that. Proof number 2. Get your T-chart set up.
Already did.
Statements on the left. Okay, guys, the chatter can stop, please. Reasons on the right. Line 1 is always your given. So I'm given that JK, what does that symbol mean? Parallel. Okay. So now let's look at our diagram. Do I have a bow tie looking diagram? Nope, so I don't have vertical angles, which means I'm going to have the reflexive property. But in this case, the reflexive property is going to be that top angle of the overlapping triangles. You see how you have the top triangle laying on top of the big triangle? So they both would have F in common. So line 2, statement-wise, would say angle F is congruent to angle F. I can just use one letter because there is only one angle occurring at F. Unlike our vertical angles where we had 4 different ones going. Okay, so now I have the symbol parallel. So then I would look on my purple reasons for proof sheet. And I would find my if-then statements that talked about parallel lines. There were 4 of them. If parallel lines, then corresponding angles are congruent. If parallel lines, then alternate interior angles are congruent. If parallel lines and alternate exterior angles are congruent. If parallel lines and consecutive interior angles are supplementary, which I don't want because I need congruent angles, So if these are your parallel lines right here and right here, and this is a transversal, what's true about angle 1 and angle 2? Why? What type of angle are they? Nope. They are corresponding. Okay. So my line 3 reason is going to say if parallel, then corresponding angles congruent. Well, let's name them over here. Give me a name for angle 1 using 3 letters. I like that. Angle F, J, K would be congruent to, give me a name for angle 2. Angle what? FGH would work. JGH would work. Would just G work? Yes. You could do just G here because you only have one angle. I can't use just J because I don't know if you're talking about this top angle or this bottom angle at J. So you have to be more specific there. All right, now do you have 2 sets of congruent angles? Yep. So now my final line is my prove line. So just rewrite that. Triangle JFK is similar to triangle GFH because of angle similarity. Where does my first angle congruency come from? Which line? 2, and then the second one is in 3. There. Doesn't that feel so nice now that it seems so easy? You never thought the day would come where you're like, man, this proof is really easy. All right? All right, last one. Set it up. Statements on the left, reasons on the right. Get your given in there. So I'm given MQ is parallel to OP. Reflexive or vertical? Vertical. Good. Now it's just a matter of naming my vertical angles correctly. What do we want to do on the left there? I'm going to go MNQ. So angle MNQ is congruent to, what will be the next 3 letters? P, N, O. If vert angles, then congruent. Okay. Here we have parallel lines again. I'm not going to have corresponding angles congruent, but we will have alternate interiors. Now you got an option. Do you want to do M and P, or do you want to do Q and O? You want to do Q and O? All right. Can I use just one letter? Can I just say angle Q? Is that okay? Yes, it is. Can I say just angle O? Yeah, so Q is congruent to O. If parallel, then alt, int, angles congruent. Am I done? Do I have enough evidence to show similarity? Yep. So line 4, rewrite your prove line. Triangle MNQ is similar to triangle PON because of angle similarity. First sets of angles come from 2. Second one is from line 3. Not too crazy, huh? If you have your index card with you, if you do not, you might want to write this somewhere on your notes so that you can transfer it onto an index card. I would write the following. Can I erase this? Okay. So when doing your proofs, just for this chapter, so that you don't have to have your whole purple sheet with you, your options are going to be to get your angle-angle similarity. Well, one way you can get an angle is through the reflexive property. And usually you're going to get the reflexive property when you have those overlapping triangles like that. If you're given parallel lines, then you're probably going to, in that same diagram, do if parallel, then corresponding angles congruent. Those usually go hand in hand. Unless you're given congruent angles right away in the given, then you'll just have to do the reflexive property. Okay. If you got the good old bow tie, then you're going to do something with your vertical. So if vert angles, then congruent. And to add on to that, if you had parallel lines, what type of angle relationships would we have there? First diagram we had corresponding, and this one we would have then, thank you, alt int angles congruent. We're not going to have anything with midpoints because that gets us congruent segments. We're not going to have anything with for perpendicular bisectors because that gets us congruent segments. So pretty much that's going to be your proofs in a nutshell. So you're either going to have reflexive property or vertical angles, depending on the diagram. And then if you have parallel lines, you're either going to have corresponding or alternate interior angles. Okay? All right. So, questions with your proofs?